I've been telling everyone that this is going to be the setting tone or setting the tone for the rest of the webinars, hopefully, that we're going to conduct the rest of the year because it's so difficult to be seeing each other physically, physical gathering, etc., etc. And we're looking at until the end of this year, until December. That's about the time we cannot do, seminars kasi mabuti na yung safe than sorry, di ba? Kasi sabi ko nga, if I get you guys all together in one room, then if somebody gets infected, one or two, then you're gonna kill me, right? ako yung pagbubuntulan nyo ng galit kung meron mang maapektuhan, di ba? So, yun. Hopefully we can get the hang of this because I know that a lot of journalists right now, content providers, people in the media, in some other sectors have been attending webinars via Zoom or Google Meet. So hopefully this is really a beautiful experience for everyone, wonderful experience to experience another platform or technology at the moment, right? So technology plus substance and plus the form and all, hopefully we get everything together very successfully. Tama ba, Trusty? Can you hear me? Okay. Let me just call the others, put you on standby. Alex Pal here is our trustee for the Visayas. He's also editor, publisher of an award-winning newspaper based in Dumaguete, Metro Post. He is going to be one of the panelists in this afternoon's webinar. See you around, Alex. Let me just... Okay, let me just acknowledge it. Yes.
I'll be back on mute.
Sure. I'm saying hi to Chari Dino. I think she is going to be one of the participants here. Hi, Chari. Let me just check the others.
Hi, Ariel, si Chari Dino, student natin sa MA.
Hi, that's good. Wow, that's under your tutelage. Under your tutelage, Dean Army. I'm just going to put...
Hello, good afternoon.
Hi, Chari. Good to see you. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Just stand by. I'm just going to put on screen our training director, Tess Bacalla here. Hi, Tess. Hi.
Hello.
Is this the one? Are you in Tagaytay?
Yes.
Wow, beautiful. Oh, wow. You're very well appointed. So maybe we should go back
Hindi lang ako makalabas.
Kaya nga,
because if I go out, I go through the same requirements and then the 14-day quarantine.
Yeah, the travel pass, the QR pass, etc., etc. But you're safe there.
But I'm not complaining.
You're not complaining because
I should not complain.
Yeah, you're looking good. It doesn't really show that you're worrying about the world. Except for our own worries here at home front, diba? So I was just telling everyone, Tess, before you came in that this is setting the tone for the next series of seminar after this. So I'm recognizing the ones who are in the meeting room already. Tess, let me just go back to you, but I'm just going to say hi and put on screen our chairman, Rolando Estabillo, CEO and publisher. Hi, Sir Rolly. Hi.
Yes, muna kami.
No, it's okay. You have time to familiarize yourself. It's okay. I'm just saying hi to everyone.
I'm gonna speak na.
I'm sorry?
Hindi, lahat sila nakikita ko eh. Pati si Ariel.
Hello.
Ito. Okay.
Pag hindi po naka-red, sir, open po yung mic nyo nun.
Sa ngayon, tatanggalin ko muna. Mag-mute muna ako.
Yeah.
Pwede po kayo mag-mute.
Mute muna kayo, sir.
Dito.
Ayaw po yung...
Ito. Okay, so, how will I get the cue? That I'm about to speak.
You get the cue from me and Claire. So we start the program at 3. I'm going... Yeah.
Si Ariel, narinig ko. Siya magsasabi.
Apo.
Okay.
Yes.
Sige. So I'll just keep this going, no? Itong lahat.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, Chairman, I'm just doing a roll call. I'm going to be back soon with you. I put you on screen later. I'm just going to say hi to Sir JB Bailon over here.
Ano daw ba? Okay tayo.
Hello.
Hi, sir. Wait.
Can
Where
you
are
hear
you?
me?
I can hear you. I'm tweeting.
Can you hear me, Ariel?
Yes, I'm seeing you already. I can hear you loud and clear. Yeah, beautiful background there.
Oh, good, good.
And looking good as well. You've been to UP, right? For the Manyanita.
No one is
For
wearing.
the Grand Manyanita, were you there? I saw your posts. I saw photos from you.
No one is wearing a mask.
No one is wearing a mask. I'm all alone. Where? There in UP? In UP?
Here with us.
Ay, nag-interrupt ka. Nawawala ka. Okay, you're freezing. Your screen is
Bakit
freezing.
kaya?
Check your connection. Are you okay? Are you good? Okay.
Yeah, I'm good. I can hear you very well.
Medyo hindi lang gumagalaw, probably some interruptions, technical, etc. But you're okay. I'm seeing you, and I'm hearing you loud and clear. I'm just checking on you, so that everyone in the meeting room right now, I'm just going to recognize them so that when we start at 3 p.m., everything, before we even start, everything is in order, right? Before you came in, I've been making a roll call of attendees and also recognize a Nickel Asia Corporation for being the principal partner. And then this is really setting the tone for the future series of webinars that we're going to do, whether it's with HSF or stand alone with Nickel Asia and some other partners as well. And I'm also explaining to them, probably everything has changed. A lot of things have changed, but in terms of the substance, etc., although we cannot touch and really, the physical, remotely, virtually, etc., but the same procedures as we do conduct trainings in the PPI, when we do physically gather everyone, it's the same thing. They're still going to get the same PPI members are going to still getting the same benefits out of a seminar, like allowances and also certificates as well, and the presentations as well. Although we're not paying for the hotel, some of the what we're doing right now since the start of the project, Sir JB, last March, all stories about COVID have already been uploaded in the PPI News Commons. That's the other website where you can get stories from the members all over the Philippines. So March, we've uploaded 200 plus stories, imagine, on COVID. From there, we are going to screen some stories, and these authors of those approved stories will get remuneration. Hopefully we can pay as many as we can, because that's also part of the altruism, as we are saying, and also helping our brethren, yung mga brothers and sisters ng PPI outside of Metro Manila. And hopefully that should, change things for the better, and hopefully help them also get them back on track. If not, the paper itself, or some of those have already ceased printing temporarily. Sir JB, I'm going to just go to the others, and I'm going to put you on standby, and I'll see you around in the meeting room. Thanks very much. I'll see you later. Okay, can you hear me? Okay. Thank you.
Yes,
Okay.
sir. Yes,
Sir
sir.
JB, okay. Okay, let me just say hi to Dalia. Dalia here is from Ormoc, right? So this is pretty much all of the participants who usually attend PPI seminars, and we're looking at as many as we can, because we did not divide this one besides Mindanao. As I said, part of the setting was just put them all together in one webinar until we divide geographically in the future webinar series. So let me just, I already acknowledged Nickel Asia Corporation. We just go to Guts over here from, hi. Hi, can you hear me, Guts?
Yeah, I can hear you
I
very
can
good.
hear you as well, but it seems that I cannot see the whole of your face. It's just the head up to a little bit of your mouth. Maybe you can turn. Yeah, that's good. That's good. we thank you very much. We thank you very much. Apart from Nickel Asia Corporation, but those are two corporations we've really approached to help us with the project. So thank you, Hans Seidel Foundation. We've already talked to Carol as well. I'm going to already recognize Carol over here. When we checked attendance as early as 2 p.m. So we thank you very much. I hope you're okay there. How's everything in your office? Okay naman? Are you okay?
Yeah, more or less okay. I'm the only one.
Are you in the office or at home? You're in the office.
Right now I'm at home, but usually I go to the office because it's just 500 meters far from where I live.
Okay.
So it's no transport problem, but the others should stay at home because.
And I'm sure Carol is also working remotely. Carol is at home.
Carol is not allowed to come to the office because we want to avoid that somebody takes transport.
I know. So I'm just doing a roll call of the attendees right now. Good. So I'm going to be back with you on screen later on. So just say stick around. Let me just say hi to Ruby Cristobal. Ruby Cristobal is also one of the participants of this webinar. Thank you very much for taking heed of our invitation. We've got okay. Hi, Reg. Hi. Tita Carol also, let's say hi. Okay. Carolyn Arguillas over here from Mindanao News going to be one of the panelists. We say hi to her. She's going also to talk about a lot of things in 15 minutes. Okay. Thank you very much, Tita. I hope you're okay there.
Hi, Ariel.
Hi. Hi, Tita. Where's the owl? You're okay? Okay, you're good? You're good?
Good.
Hi.
Hi, Ruby. Nice seeing you there, Ruby.
Hi.
Ariel, I think that is Ma'am Odette Portus.
Hi, okay.
Executive Director.
Hi,
Hi,
Ma'am Odette.
Hi, Dr.
Hi,
Portus.
Riss. Hi, Ruby.
Okay.
Hi,
Hi, Ma'am
everyone.
Odette.
Good afternoon.
Oh, what I'm doing right now, I'm just doing a roll call of the attendees before we start. We officially start at 3 p.m. So as a rule, and I don't have to repeat it, it's in the guidelines, most of us will be muted, except myself and those who have speaking parts in the program. For the participants, you can interact via the chat room for your comments in the open forum. But probably if there's time, we can get some of those comments from you live. We can unmute you via our tech, but mostly everyone gets to be muted so that all those who have parts in the program only get to speak. Okay, I'm just making myself here so that we can. There's good traffic at in the meeting room. Okay, I'm just going to say hi from Isabella. Sir Bill, hi. Hi. Bohol Sunday. Hi.
Dean
Okay.
Army is here. Hi, Dean Army.
Yeah, she's one of those the few who got into the meeting very early this afternoon. I'm just going to say hi.
Hi, Ma'am Odette.
Hi.
I'm also going to say hi to Tito Red Batario. Dami kong tito tsaka tita dito. Red Batario from the Center for Community Journalism and Development is also part of a network of allied PPI, allied media organizations doing safety for journalists. He's been part of the PPI projects in the beginning, on and off. I'm going to say hi to him. Okay. Okay, let me just say that we have to synchronize our watches or time. By my watch is 15 minutes before 3 p.m. Just stick around. Don't go anywhere. Madali na lang yung 15 minutes. So most of our panelists are here already. Carol, our training director, Tess, is going to be the resource person. Carol Arguillas of Mindanao News from Davao is also here, or is also here already. our panelists from Bacolod and some other parts who are trustees of the PPI from Dumaguete, Ami from Davos, not yet here. Julius, I already mentioned.
Ami is there.
Ami
there.
Ami's in the meeting room already. Okay, that's very good. I'm doing a roll call so that everybody gets to be recognized.
Ariel?
Yes,
Sorry.
Tess.
Check your watch.
Yeah, mine is like 15 before 3.
No,
That's
that's
late.
late.
Ah,
That's late. Hi,
Oh.
Tess. Tess
Hi.
Bacalla, how are you?
Hi,
Hi,
I'm good.
Ruby. How are you, Ruby?
Okay.
Nice meeting you.
okay. Okay. What time do you have
Ariel,
there, Tess?
3:04 na.
It's 3:04.
3:04,
Ala,
yeah.
bakit naging ano na tong watch ko?
Late
Okay.
ang watch mo.
Nasa different time zone tayo. Okay. Okay. Thanks for reminding. We're 4 minutes late, but it's okay. It's my fault because baka European time to yung watch ko.
Ariel, you have to bring your watch to the Rolex Service Center.
This is not even Rolex. My God. Okay. Care, training team, I recognize you already. Care, tech guy, I hope you're good. Chairman Rolly, all our partners are here already. So everyone, I think, is so excited because this is going to be the first of the PPI webinar in the pandemic time. And we're excited, but at the same time also scared about what's going to be the turnout of the result of the webinar. But hopefully this gets to be successful because this is the gauge of how we do or conduct the next webinars after this one. So I've probably introduced already a lot of people already in the meeting room. It is my part to do the introduction. We did an informal survey via our FB group May 5, checking on people, doing an inventory of how many newspapers have ceased or have they been operating during the pandemic or during the quarantine or lockdown. According to our survey, 11 have temporarily ceased printing and shifted to digital platform. It's a good news because hindi sila nawala. It's also sad because a lot of their clients or patrons and readers have been looking for the printed copies. So anong problema doon? So a lot of comments and suggestions have been coming out since the informal survey last May 5. And I'm going to zero into two things. It's really survival of the paper, not only of the paper, not only of the owners, not only the editors or publishers, everyone in the newsroom. So that when newspapers is printing, you already see na may problem economically. And we're talking about survival on different levels. Yung survival for the paper, survival for those in the newsroom, people who are running or manning. Hindi lang yung mga journalists, the people behind the camera, behind the, these are all frontliners, but you've got marketing people there, people in the printing, doing the machine, etc., etc. Lahat ng tao ng bubuo ng newspaper, kawawa. So I took note of that when I shared the same problems in a webinar forum where people was a part of, conducted with ECIJ and some other media organizations. And the other ones are probably with operations. So nagbago na din yung kalakaran sa sa pagkuha ng storya. Yung pressers ngayon, live, Facebook, etc., via Zoom or Google Meet, not physical as we all know. I know a lot of the journalists are committed, brave enough to really go on till despite the scare of infection, and we salute them for that. Ang binabalik sa PPI, how can PPI really can help our, the smaller newspapers outside Metro Manila. It's not to say that the smaller newspapers or the newspapers outside Metro are the only ones have been experiencing those challenges and problems. Lahat po tayo, even the big papers in Metro Manila. I've been talking to Sir Rolly once in a while about how Manila Standard, for that matter, in which case also has been cutting down costs. This economic, and except they're also considering also yung tao din eh. And we've got people also taking care of families, di ba? So, pag nawala ng trabaho, especially because ganun na nga nangyari during the quarantine months and the lockdown, sort of saying with so many names for it, lockdown, talagang madaming nawalan ng trabaho. And I think one of the hardest hit na industriya or industries talaga, yung media and journalism. I'm not going to talk further about some other factors na bakit ba nagkaroon ng sitwasyon ng media. How can other organizations, apart from PPI, who are well-meaning, really help an organization that represents mostly community newspapers for that matter, in PPI. So what we've been doing since lockdown, in training team, I myself in the secretariat, I've been talking to a lot of people because we're still also considering resources. Just because we want to do webinars via Google Meet or Zoom, ganon. It's not that simple. We really have to think about the substance as well. And I think considering all the realities factored in, what's going to be the new normal? How are things, if not all things, some things have really gotten back for the better or for the worse? Let us see how this meeting goes and the proceedings and also the sharing from not only from the journalists, because I also recognize that a lot of our educators, communication sector, our educators, journalism educators are also here. So we recognize them because putting it all together in one meeting room makes a beautiful, significant discourse. At this point, I would like to recognize, to formally open our webinar, COVID-19 Chronicles. When reporting duty calls, I would like to call the Chairman and President of the Philippine Press Institute and the CEO and publisher of Manila Standard, Mr. Rolando Rolly Estabillo. Hi, Care.
Ay, Sir Rolly, naka-on na po kayo.
Yeah. Okay. I'm sorry, I don't see my... Okay, now I see my face. Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining this first ever webinar of PPI.
Here?
Yeah.
Hi, Sir Rolly.
Oh, okay na ako?
Okay na po.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this first ever webinar of PPI. This is part of the new normal brought about by the COVID-19 pandemic.
Hi.
Yeah, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Sir, yes, sir. Opo.
Here?
Yes, sir. Ano po, sir? Naririnig ko na, sir.
Okay na?
Okay na po,
it
sir.
happens,
Okay.
especially because this is the new
Okay na po,
normal. Just getting the hang of it.
Ariel, can you hear me?
It's a big challenge for Sir Rolly, in which case, right
Can you
now.
hear me now? Huh?
Here?
Sir,
Yeah.
narinig po namin si Sir Rolly, sir. Sir Ariel. Ikaw po hindi nyo narinig, sir. Hi, sir.
Hi. Is Sir Rolly okay?
Opo,
Yeah.
yes, sir. Narinig po namin.
We can hear. Yes, we can hear Sir Rolly.
Yeah.
We can hear.
Ariel,
Hindi yan kasi
hear me?
here.
Something is wrong with your connection, probably. Are you okay? Okay ka na, Ariel? I can
Here?
start now.
Hindi yata naririnig ni Ariel.
Oh, Ariel, something is wrong with Ariel.
Sir, naka-on po yung ano niyo, sir, yung speaker niyo.
Sir Rolly, hi. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, but you cannot hear me.
I'm seeing you, but you don't have a voice.
The
I
rest,
can't hear you. I can see you on screen, but I cannot hear you.
We can hear him.
It's your
We
turn
can
already
hear
to do your
him.
remarks.
Ariel, I think all of us can hear him. Ikaw lang ang hindi.
Ariel.
Ariel, we can hear you.
him. We can hear Sir Roman.
You have to bring your watch to the Rolex store.
I cannot hear me. Okay, anyway, I'll just start, so we don't have to stall the proceedings. Okay. Good afternoon. Welcome to this first ever webinar of PPI. This is part of the new normal brought about by the COVID-19 pandemic. What we are experiencing is but the initial phase of norms that will govern how we live and interact with each other. And there will be more adjustments ahead as the debilitating impact of the plague linger for some time. Expect things to get worse before they get any better, or until a vaccine is found to fight this deadly virus. Meantime, we'll see more job losses as various business sectors shatter amid lockdowns and quarantine restrictions. even with the gradual reopening of economies, provides no immediate hope of recovery. Many will never recover at all. The newspaper industry is no exception. Global report about media layoffs, furloughs, redundancies, pay cuts on account of the slump in advertising. Fortune magazine, the Los Angeles Times, The Economist, Le Parisien, Condé Nast, the publisher of Go, Wired, New Yorker, are some of the big trade names that have taken these measures to survive the hard times. But the most telling account of the sector's bleak state is the sweeping decision of News Corporation, Rupert Murdoch's Australian flagship media group, to stop printing 60 regional newspapers. Here in the home front, we are faring no better. While we have yet to see a massive suspension of community print edition as in Australia, local newspapers as well are reeling from the effects of the pandemic. If those based in highly urbanized areas like the NCR are struggling due to the rapid decline of ad revenues, how much more of those in rural communities? Already troubled by the inroad of online platforms disseminating news and information, the last thing they need is this health crisis. But all is not lost and hopeless, given man's resiliency in the face of adversity. It may even turn out to be the spark for the holdouts to adopt modern communications technology and embrace fully the digital tools that the rest of the world employ in information dissemination. What better way to demonstrate the advantages of this technological wonder than this webinar? Absent the internet, this virtual conference would not be possible given the strict protocols on social distancing and face-to-face gatherings. We stay connected as we speak miles apart in the safety of our homes or offices. And that exactly is what this webinar is all about. To show that a lifeline is within reach for the community press to survive the strong headwinds buffeting this media sector at the moment. This is also the underlying principle in launching the PPI News Commons, a project that providentially came about formally in a Luzon cluster meeting in Baguio last November, or 2 months before the COVID-19 first came to light. This effort is still a work in progress. There are still loose ends that need to be tied up and fine-tuned to accomplish its goal of providing a viable opportunity for cooperation. We assure our colleagues in the Visayas and Mindanao that we will hold our respective cluster meetings on the News Commons project the first opportunity we will have. This webinar and News Commons are intertwined to help create a more connected, collaborative, and inclusive media ecosystem where all the participants have avenues to work together and share resources. We hope that in this environment, members of the community press will enable to flourish and carry on their mandate of providing relevant and timely news and information to the localities they serve. That mandate is aptly reflected in this webinar theme, COVID-19 Chronicles, when reporting duty calls. Beyond this chronicling of the pandemic, it is the duty to keep the free flow of information that comes out, one of the pillars of freedoms enshrined in the democratic governance. With surveillance and disinformation growing through social media, the community press plays a vital role to guard against this threat to liberty. Before I close, allow me to acknowledge the invaluable assistance of the Hans Seidel Foundation and of course Nickel Asia Corporation, respectively represented here today by its resident representative, Mr. Gotch Henneke, and Vice President for Corporate Communications of Nickel Asia, Mr. Jose Bayani Bailon, not only for making this virtual conference a reality, but also for past PPI undertakings. Let me thank as well our distinguished panelists and resource persons for lending their expertise and time to talk on several topics concerning journalism. Lastly, my congratulations to our Executive Director, the indefatigable Ariel Hans Cervantes, and his support staff for successfully organizing this event. In behalf of the PPI board and officers, I wish everyone a productive and memorable webinar. Thank you and good day, and stay safe.
Ariel, nakamute ka.
Maraming salamat, Chairman and President Rolando Estabillo. Maraming salamat, Sir Rolly, for also recognizing a lot of efforts ng mga journalists natin, even outside Metro Manila, and also the Secretary as well, and the PPI for coming up with thinking a lot of things to do better in the time of pandemic. At this point, I'd like to call the country representative of the Hans Seidel Foundation, Attorney Gets Heineke, also for his remarks. Again, thank you very much for heeding our call or approving our proposal. Maraming salamat, Sir Rolly. Gets Heineke, it's your turn.
Okay, thank you very much, Ariel. Dear ladies and gentlemen, I wish you a wonderful good afternoon. And I'm really happy that this is as well the first webinar for the Hans Seidel Foundation that I'm attending here in the Philippines. It's all new for us, and I would prefer to see you in real and to chat and to have more fun than sitting in front of a computer and being alone. But I think we just need to handle with the situation, and I hope that in some months we can see each other again and can chat personally.
Yeah.
Nevertheless, thank you very much to Ariel and the PPI. I mean, it was, I think, 1 month ago, 2 weeks ago, when we had a discussion, what else can we do? How can Hans Seidel Foundation support PPI? And Ariel immediately, it was within 1 hour, he came up with an idea for the Chronicles and a complete program. And therefore, we are happy that we can support you now in these difficult times, because it's not easy for anyone. And we as Hans Seidel Foundation, of course, we are quite in a good position, because we don't have to earn money. We just have to spend money, which is always quite easy. But we need reliable partners, and PPI is one reliable partner. For the moment, yes, webinar is the only thing that we can do. PPI is able to do webinars, therefore we are happy. Yeah, without wasting too much time, because it's online. Thank you very much to every one of you. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your engagement, for your motivation to participate. And let's have a successful webinar here. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Gats. Hear me? Hi. Hello. Hi.
We can hear you, Ariel.
We can hear you.
Thank you. Maraming salamat. Thank you very much, Hans Seidel Foundation. Like, as I said, one of the two organizations responded to the call of PPI in helping not only PPI as an organization, but also our journalists, especially outside Metro Manila, and also to support the project for as long as we can hold or sustain it. And we're looking until the end of this year, when some things get better as well, so we can think about other things as well for our members. At this point, I would like to call a very good friend of PPI, a very good friend of everyone, very active in social media. He's also a columnist for Malaya. He is the Vice President for Corporate Communications of the Nickel Asia Corporation. Please welcome JB Bailon, or Jose Bayani JB Bailon. Para kompleto, okay?
Araw na talagaan mo yun eh. Well, on behalf of my boss, Lester Pasqua, I'd like to thank you for this opportunity. It's exciting. First of all, I was excited to hear from Her Heineke that they don't have to earn, they just have to spend. I wish every company was like that, but trust me, it's my job to spend, not to earn. And that's why it's great to be here. It is unprecedented what we're going through. I'm sure we all have a friend or a friend of a friend who has been seriously affected by the virus, either loss of business or even worse, loss of a loved one. It's bad for many companies. I don't think we've seen the end of it. But it's dangerous when it is media which is affected by all of these. No? I have to admit, swerte kami sa Nickel Asia, our operations have hardly been affected. None of our employees have had to go for a day without pay. And that's the reason why, we would like to pay it back or pay it forward. No? I'm proud that we yesterday donated 18 million to the Red Cross to put up a molecular test lab in Surigao, because there is no such lab in northern eastern Mindanao, and they have to send all their swabs to Davao or Cebu or Manila. So now we will be putting up a lab there, and the reason why that happened is because, as you know, under COVID, so many politicians want to help their people. They ask for food, they ask for test kits, but we wanted to give them something more long-lasting, because a lab like this can be used for Zika, HIV, and other diseases other than COVID once this is over. But I said, no, what is important to us is the fact that businesses are struggling, but it is more dangerous to society if media is struggling, especially now that we're not just talking about COVID. There is a big elephant in the room, and I will not mention the anti-terror law, that is affecting so many people. Because a friend of mine, I will also not mention his name, Senator Lacson, told me, just trust me on the bill. So I told him, sir, the problem is you're going to die, but the bill will live forever. So that's my problem. And, I'm sure you all know more than I, my favorite quote of Jefferson, that I'd rather have a newspaper without government in society than government without newspaper. I've said that to so many of my best friends from UP who are now in government. They're not my friends anymore. Because in fact, I'm telling them, I'd rather have you guys disappear tomorrow. And frankly, between us, some of them are lost classmates of mine. And I tell them that in this pandemic and in this struggle, it seems you've forgotten everything about the Constitution. Don't even ask me to read the anti-terror bill if you haven't read the Constitution yourself. I'll not mention his name, Marcoleta. I think if he checks Article 3 or 4 of the Constitution on suffrage or on citizenship, nothing says there that you have to memorize the Panatang Makabayan. Diba? That's why sa akin, more dangerous ang media ang mag-suffer dito sa pandemic. So it's interesting to hear that 11 papers, including Malaya, went online for a while, stopped printing hard copies. But anyway, so when this came up, it's a great thing, and we'd be more than happy to do that, Ariel, for as long as my boss Lester approves the budget. Be behind you. Nice to see you, sir.
I haven't seen Lester. Is Lester in the meeting room? Is Lester in the meeting room? Is he here?
No. He went shopping, so he has signed me to do it.
I'm just going to say hi sana to him. Hi, Lester, wherever you are.
And makakabot po ang inyong mainit na pagbati kay Sir Lester.
And Mira as well.
I will take my my camera and my mic off, but I'll be tuned in the whole time. So marami pong salamat sa inyo at mabuhay kayo.
Thank you very much. You can join in our open forum alongside Mr. Heineke and other panelists as we finish all the presentations. Maraming salamat, Sir JB. Lester High and Nickel Asia Corporation, mabuhay kayo. Okay, at this point, wag natin patagalin. Everybody misses her after her stint in Bangkok for SIPA. He's been the training director of PPI for several years until she went to Bangkok for HSIPA stint. And we welcome her back. Please welcome an award-winning journalist as well, a very good friend of mine and everybody's friend as well. And I'm sure the members miss her. Please welcome back Miss Tess Bacalla.
Hello. Hi. Okay. Yeah. PPI will always be family.
Yay!
Yeah. Okay. Sige. With the indulgence of Mr. Heineke, I'll just, in the next few seconds, I'll just speak in Filipino and then I'll shift back to English. Yeah. We miss, yeah. Sige. Sige. Ngayon ay panahon ng Araw ng Kalayaan, ano? So, happy Independence Day to all. ika-122 taon ng ating kasarinlan. So we're not really here to talk about it and the significance of that of this historic event, but it's very it's still what we're going to talk about is still very relevant to what we are celebrating today because we're focusing on the media. So hindi man yan ang tema ng ating tatalakayin ngayon, napapanahon pa rin ang ating pagtitipon sa virtual na plataforma. Our discussion is still relevant on virtual platform because we're focusing on the media. Imagine being in the midst of a pandemic and we're practically clueless about it and all the risks and challenges spawned by its outbreak. Nothing about the threats posed by the deadly coronavirus, nothing on quarantine controls and other measures to quell this crisis. I'm sure you get my drift. Imagine being without the media, especially the legacy media, while all this is going on, pandemic and all. And we simply cannot imagine it, right? The media has proved to be an indispensable tool in ensuring the public is well informed about specific issues and events that impact people's lives. The ongoing COVID-19 pandemic magnifies this reality. The national media, without doubt, has tried to play this role to the hilt amid challenges which have been aggravated by COVID-19. The community or local media does so too, trying to play its role, fulfilling its mission, even if, as the virus rages, it means walking for kilometers, and this without the benefit of full protective gear, to an area where dire situations brought on by the pandemic have unfolded, and this need to be brought to public and government attention. I'm citing a real situation shared by a colleague based in Mindanao in one of the webinars organized by another media outfit. Let me pause a bit and tell you that I've chosen to title my brief presentation, "When National is Not Enough, Go Local." In many respects, the challenges are even greater for the community media, which is an interesting definition, at least according to one international institution. When we say community media, is essentially media existing in the service of a community, but also we're talking in terms of the scope of the area being covered by a particular media outlet. But isn't that what the media is all about? Being in the service of a community? Well, the answer is yes and no, but we're not going to dwell on that, not today. At any rate, the challenges hounding the community press pre-COVID had been enormous at best, and we can't even begin to describe what these were and are. Today, these challenges have been amplified tenfold since the advent of COVID-19. As we speak, and as Ariel mentioned earlier, at least 10 local or community papers have stopped printing copies of their publication, printing hard copies, for reasons that are mainly attributable to the ongoing crisis. Not a few local outlets, media outlets have had to cut back on their operations, which means less stories for their communities, and this at a time when they're most needed, when the public needs to be better informed about what's going on. For those of us based in the National Capital Region or Metro Manila, this may not mean much or hardly makes a dent in our lives. But not for our countrymen in the provinces or areas far removed from the center, Manila or the metropolis. Ask a local newspaper editor who these days constantly gets calls from readers wondering why they're not getting their hard copy of their favorite local newspaper. For these readers, their daily morning routines necessarily include getting a copy of their community newspaper of choice and discussing with their friends the latest news over a cup of coffee coupled with other breakfast staples. How much do we know about the work the community press is struggling to undertake? Often not without risks to their well-being and often amid unimaginably low compensation and the absence of other benefits that they deserve to get but can only aspire to. They are frontliners at best, unsung though they may be. The critical role of the community press, especially in times of crisis such as what confronts us today, cannot be stressed enough. Whereas the national media are, understandably or not, selective in their coverage of local news, including important issues, the community media can be relied upon to offer a more nuanced, more intimate, more comprehensive view of the situation on local ground, offering diverse community news and giving space to various voices in the community that make for broader and more meaningful discourse resonant with community members and that help ensure more civic engagement in specific localities. PPI's motto, building better communities, is not some hollow cliche or a meaningless or a meaningless nod to the important work that local media outlets perform. At their core is a sense of mission. Yes, and this bears repeating, building better communities through their unrelenting coverage of local news that helps shape communities' understanding of and concern for what goes on in their immediate environments. Without such understanding and knowledge, the real essence of community would have been lost on us. It would be interesting to see how this motto, building better communities, has been fleshed out and translated into actual coverage that has strong engagement and resonance with the public, or more precisely, communities. Beyond any or in the wake of a pandemic or crisis of any kind, the community media plays a critical role that cannot be scoffed at, that of a cohesive force bringing a community together through knowledge and information that can bind people together or foster shared understanding or collective concerns and aspirations as a community. Of course, there's a flip side to this, which applies just as much to other media, national or otherwise. But let's set this aside for now. According to the Poynter Institute for Media Studies, a nonprofit journalism institution in the US, local public media stations are like public libraries and local museums in that they preserve a culture, educate, and engage in order to build understanding on important issues that are expensive or difficult to cover for national media, for example. And it continues, and while national news outlets can handle the big stuff, it's never quite the same or as good as hometown coverage. And what of the local media being seen not only playing a watchdog function, as important as that is, and which is traditionally associated with the press as the fourth estate, but also seen as a good neighbor, as one international media institution puts it. One that does not abandon critical reporting, but is also seen as playing an active role in the community and not mere passive and detached observers. We heal as one, an oft-heard mantra these days, perhaps takes on a whole new and positive meaning for communities thanks to the local press. Indeed, local or community media are in a niche of their own, bringing people together and helping create and reflect a sense of community that larger publications may struggle to replicate. And here I'm paraphrasing what Nieman Lab said in a report. Let me share with you some studies that highlight the distinct role of the community or local press and even local journals covering local news, contributing to national media outlets. One US study conducted in 2018 showed the following. Areas with fewer local news outlets and declining coverage also have lower levels of civic engagement and voter turnout. On the other hand, studies show that areas with more local or community media coverage tend to have increased turnout because people care, people are informed in local elections, and lower spending on discretionary municipal projects. A slew of similar studies invariably confirm these findings and more. When reporting duty calls, and those calls are unrelenting, local media, like our colleagues in national media outlets, may well feel the pressure to step up amid struggles. And those struggles are enormous and quite distinct compared to what other media, even with better and more resources, have to contend with. For purposes of our discussion today, some questions are well worth us asking, not that we hope to address all of them today or respond to them to everyone's satisfaction. Let's just say those are worth pondering, even post-COVID-19, and it's time we did, no? As we remain on lockdown, modified or not, literally and figuratively. And here I'm paraphrasing some very relevant and resonant questions put forth by another media institution. How do you remain an essential part of community conversations and dialogue while feeling their pulse, including their aspirations and struggles as a community? How do we in the community media ensure that we're not merely reporting what's happening in our communities as though we were passive observers, but on the contrary, are helping drive conversations, meaningful and sober and sustained, it is hoped, the better to forge civic-mindedness among our community folk? How do we ensure that the value of our local news organization goes beyond the printed paper or digital or broadcasting outlet? If local papers are dying, for instance, it doesn't mean that local news is dying, or is it? How do we as community media, quote unquote, reaffirm our unique value and role in a community, potentially creating valuable monetization of opportunities in the process? As we are in a more reflective or thoughtful mode, or this much I assume, during this pandemic, is there a need to reinvent local journalism, explore a new normal for local news, rethink our notion of the concept of objectivity because we have a community to look out for, explore the concept of advocacy or rethink this concept? Is this time to consider a new news subculture, say slow journalism that is reporting the news with more scrutiny or depth and time, therefore giving more premium to quality instead of speed for its own sake? How about solutions journalism? This in a situation where the national government cannot always be relied upon to address many of the issues on local ground, and community members cannot be waiting in perpetuity for national or even local leaders to act or address their complaints. And therefore, the community media may facilitate finding those solutions. That's a thought I'm throwing out to everybody. How do we strengthen our ability to facilitate community dialogue? How do we ensure that our communities occupy a central role in the reporting process so that they're not peripheral to that process? What role can the media, more particularly the local or community press, play to stop or reverse our descent down the path toward intensifying polarization? These are difficult questions to answer, but there's no escaping them, especially not in these times. That we're doing this conversation, virtual though it may be, somehow gives us hope. It shows that somehow we're willing to explore creative solutions and find ways and means to resolve our predicament as media. I hope we're in this together, whether or not we belong to community, national, or regional media. Suffice it to say, I've tried to highlight the important role of the community press, its challenges. But what about opportunities? Perhaps the questions I posed could prompt us to explore those opportunities, including ones quite ironically presented by the pandemic. Moving forward, we need to focus more, resource and support-wise, among others, on what we can do together with the community press. In the succeeding portions of our conversation today, we're privileged to hear from our colleagues in the community media doing admirable work as they cover the local news and as they try to bring out critical insights and perspectives that deeply resonate with their communities, that foster community solidarity and engagement, using their platforms, be they print, broadcast, or digital, to allow for far more voices to be heard, which otherwise remain muted. So that's as far as my presentation is concerned, some questions that I thought I'd throw to everyone. And so now in the next few minutes or several minutes, we're going to hear from our colleagues from the Visayas, from Mindanao, and from Luzon. So Ariel, would you do the honors of introducing them? Oh, sorry. The next one would be, of course, before our panel of speakers, where I can see Carol now. Carol Arguillas, we asked her to share about her experience as one of the founders, of course, of the very prestigious and highly respectable MeeT News. Imagine Carol talking, and her presentation is titled Mindanao on Carol's Mind, an intimate view from the ground. So let's hear from, sorry, Ariel. Okay, we're going to introduce our panel of speakers later, but now let's hear from Carol. Carol? You're on mute, Carol, I think.
I'll just say hi and then I'll turn off the video because the signal here is erratic.
Sure.
Okay, sige.
All right.
Okay, Mindanos was a product of the all-out war of 2000. I headed a team of reporters from Mindanao under a Mindanao Bureau of a national newspaper from 1991 to 2001. All of us too eager to report to a national audience what was happening in our communities. It was important that the issues that mattered most to us would be amplified through the national newspaper we were writing for. There was no Facebook then or social media. There was no modern technology to speak of. Before we found ourselves in the Mindanao Bureau, we had known each other from the mid-1980s, working for different national newspapers. At one point in our lives, we had to hone our skills in stealing journalism. Yes, kisame. Especially when we were covering Marawi stories and had to take the hour-long ride to Iligan City to rush to the Matelco or Maranao telephone company, if I remember correctly. There, we had to fill up a piece of paper to make a long-distance call, and we had to wait for our turn to be called. There were no laptops during that period. That would come to Mindanao in the mid-1990s. So from Marawi, we had to write our reports inside the vehicle that would bring us to Matelco in Iligan and finish the report while waiting for our turn to be called. Sometimes we would be able to finish our stories while waiting, but there were times when we were just halfway through and had to file the reports. Sealing journalism meant dictating on the phone the paragraphs that you had written down, and for the parts that you did not get to write, you had to rely only on your notes and phrase the sentences and paragraphs while looking up at the ceiling. All those years working for a national newspaper were years of struggle for us from the provinces who had to fight for space in the across the nation pages, which was really just a page or a page and a half. Of all the major island groupings though, Mindanao always topped among the bureaus when it came to front page news. And that was because of the stories on violence. Bad news, sadly, lands on page 1, not just in the national newspaper we worked for. For a long time, it was Mindanao equals violence. I distinctly remember there were only 3 instances when Mindanao would land on page 1. First, violence, such as bombings, massacres, wars. Second, disasters. And third, celestial phenomena like a total solar eclipse. Aside from fighting for space, we also had to fight with the central desk about how words in Mindanao are misused. We would repeatedly remind them of the misuse of the word Muslim to describe kidnappers or terrorists. Sometimes there would be a period when you would not see the words misused, but the problem would recur and recur. But we would also repeatedly remind and remind. The all-out war in 2000 was a major wake-up call to all of us. Nearly 1 million Mindanaoans were displaced by the war. We would file our reports from what we witnessed on the ground, from the voices we listened to on the ground, but only a few paragraphs would be used, if at all, as this would be merged with the reports from the Defense Beat and Malacanang. So what picture of that war would the readers get? I would receive 90,000 worth of characters from the reporters, which I had to reduce to 5,000 characters. And only a few paragraphs will be taken from that heavily reduced article. A number of us left the national newspaper to set up Mindanews in May 2001. We were lucky the internet connection in Mindanao had already improved by then, at least in key areas. We pooled our meager resources that lasted only for a few months. We thought we could offer the national newspapers their own version of a Mindanao Bureau with a subscription offer of only 10,000 pesos. But we were told, meron na kaming defense beat eh, because that was how Mindanao was viewed then, as defense beat. Despite the many challenges we faced in the last 19 years of our existence, we have continued to do what we set out to do back in 2001, to report on the many faces and facets of Mindanao beyond what the national newspapers, national and radio and television report about Mindanao, to report on the issues in Mindanao as comprehensive as we can. When the national media would descend on Mindanao to report on the violent incidents here, we no longer cringe as we did before on how the reports are framed. Although there are still a number of those who go for sensationalism, I believe that reporters from the national media are more conscious now of how to frame Mindanao stories, even if it were defense beat related. I think Mindanao reporters, not just those from Mindanews, but others whom they have dealt with, have helped the Manila-based reporters understand the issues better, help them see our issues from our perspective as Mindanaoans. We did not stop at news reporting only. We ventured into other aspects of Mindanao, organized media summits and media trainings, photo exhibits, video documentaries, published several books and a news magazine, short-lived though, as we all knew how to write, but no one knew how to do marketing. Round table discussions on pressing issues such as the peace processes in Mindanao, grassroots documentation and reporting trainings, a summer institute of journalism for journalists, journalism students, and anyone interested in journalism. And at one point, had a summer youth training program in the subdivision where our office is located, teaching kids basic photography, basic news writing, and yes, even dance, sayaw. Like the rest of the country, Mindanao is facing such a huge problem related to COVID-19. And I do not refer only to the cases of COVID-19 positives here, but also on the impact of the economy, on the economy. Thousands have lost their jobs and livelihood. A mother bartering what would have been a week's ration of canned goods for a can of milk for her baby. A father bartering another ration of canned goods in exchange for ingredients for spaghetti to fulfill the birthday wish of a son turning 7 years old on Monday. Mental health issues, children school, released sap, kulang na sap. In Panabo City, an artist was about to harvest a bunch of bananas in the vacant lot owned by his relative, only to find out someone had stolen the bananas. Not his community, he said. He did not get angry. He prayed the thief was able to feed the bananas to his family, and he has opened the 500 square meter vacant lot to be converted into a community garden. Reporting on COVID-19 is particularly difficult, especially given the fact that movement is restricted and press briefings are done virtually. Government officials are also not releasing details unless you repeatedly ask them to. It took a long time for the Department of Health Regional Office here to release vital information that the public needs to know. At that time, the Matina Galera cockpit was the epicenter of COVID-19 in the city. It also spread later on to the other parts of Mindanao. It can be very frustrating, especially because you cannot storm their offices in the midst of a lockdown, but one has to continue to assert. We wrote several love letters to the DOH through our media loop, demanding the release of case histories of the COVID-19 positives, repeatedly telling them the public has a right to know, and repeatedly reminding them that transparency saves lives. We are not over the hump yet. Out of Mindanao's 27 provinces and 33 cities, only the cities of Davao and Zamboanga are under general community quarantine. The rest are under modified GCQ. But as more people arrive from Manila and elsewhere back to the provinces, the number of COVID-19 cases has also surged, prompting several officials to ask the national government to ensure that those who would return have undergone the necessary health protocols from point of departure to prevent the spread of the highly contagious disease in their own communities. The challenges on reporting COVID-19 is not only about these difficulties. I am sure the others will say more about this. A major difficulty that is often glossed over is the survival of media entities. Several community papers in Mindanao have ceased operations, and one or two more will reportedly fold up. Others have shifted to online publication, while others have completely stopped. The May 5 order of National Telecommunications Commission ABSN to stop operations has also affected the flow of important information to the majority. In many areas in Mindanao, access to television is only through the free ABS-CBN channel. While the network has continued its reports, only a few can access, only those who have internet connection. And when Kapamilya channel opens tomorrow, only those with cable connection can access it. Think of how the new normal would be to be in an environment where the dominant narrative is governments. And a number of jobless journalists may even go to the only institution that could provide just as now, government information agencies, whether local or national. This is another major issue confronting us in Mindanao amid this pandemic, and that is the proposed Anti-Terrorism Act of 2020, which is causing uneasiness among various sectors because, as you very well know, the theater of war in the campaign against terror is Mindanao. We've gone through nearly 3 years of martial law, and we have been told that government has been winning the war against the ISIS-linked terrorists and even the CPP-NPA, whom President Duterte declared as terrorist organizations in December 2017. Mindanaoan institutions and individuals have in fact sent out an open letter today addressed to President Rodrigo Duterte, a fellow Mindanaoan, to veto the bill because, among others, there are other ways of countering terrorism but still respecting human rights. Thank you.
Thank you, Carol. Thank you very much. You've shared among others some sobering realities confronting coverage of areas outside the center. But it's heartening to note how much in the news has achieved in the last 19 years, right, Carol? In the last 19 years. Just a quick question before we move to our panel. You mentioned there's now better coverage of Mindanao when reporters flying in from Manila, doing stories on Mindanao, seem more prepared to cover the region. But would you say that there has been a significant shift in the coverage of Mindanao through the years so that coverage translates to better understanding, correcting the misperceptions, so that mere mention of Muslim does no longer has to evoke images of gun-toting rebels out to kidnap people? Carol? Carol, you're still there?
Wala siya.
Yeah, pero
Ayan.
I didn't catch the first part.
Okay, repeat, Tess.
Yeah,
repeat.
Okay lang the first part, but the question, yeah, you heard the question, yeah.
Actually, hindi.
Sige, okay. Ulitin natin, Tess.
Oh, sige, okay. No, I was asking, it's been 19 years since you set up Minda News, and you said earlier there's now better coverage of Mindanao. Reporters coming from Manila, flying into Mindanao, seem to know better in terms of how they should cover stories in the region. But would you say there has been a significant shift in coverage of Mindanao by non-Mindanaoan reporters, by news outlets other than Mindanao News, for example, so that such coverage now translates easily, I hope, to better understanding by non-Mindanaos of the region, and so that, mere mention of Muslim does no longer evoke images of gun-toting rebels out to kidnap people.
I think there has been improvement over the years. No? I think that's why I said that we don't cringe anymore as much as we did before, when Muslim really equaled terrorists. I think it's really because also the we could not what we could not achieve with the central desk. I think we were able to achieve through our interaction with the reporters covering Mindanao from Manila.
Yeah. Thank you, Carol. If there are questions or some of the participants wanting to weigh in, for example, on what Carol has shared, please feel free. Thank you very much, Carol. I hope you won't go yet. Please stay on.
No.
Yeah, okay, thank you. We move on to our panel of speakers. We'd like to hear from them what's going on in their areas and what the challenges are, what the situation is. And we listening to them, I hope we'll think in terms of how does this apply to me as a media practitioner, for example, outside of these areas. So we have on our panel Ms. Ami Bandiola Cabusao, Editor-in-Chief of Mindanao Times, based in Davao City. We have Mr. Alex Rey Pal, Publisher and Editor-in-Chief of Dumaguete Metro Post. We have Dexter C. of Herald Express in Baguio. Sorry, Dexter, I was trying to get your designation before. But Dexter is a member of the PPI Board of Trustees representing Luzon. And also we have with us Mr. Julius Mariveles, Executive Editor of DNX, or Digital News Exchange in Bacalla. So let's hear now from Ami, and then we move on to Alex, and then Dexter, and then Julius. Okay. Go ahead, Ami.
Hi, Ami, are you there?
You're on mute, Ami.
You can tap the screen po, ma'am.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
Yeah.
loud and clear.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
So our experience at Mindanao Times, I think, is similar to all other community newspapers. I'll just have to narrate what happened to us. No? So early in March 1, we were already informed that there was a lack of paper for printing. So the management said that we have to cut our printing to only 20 pages from 32, 28, 24, and then 20 for March. So that we will be able to print until the end of the month and wait for the coming of a fresh batch of paper. So yeah, we're working on that until sometime March 15, when we were told that there's going to be a lockdown and that we had to shift immediately to online because we can no longer print. We can no longer allow our printing press to work at night because there was already curfew and there was all sorts of things. And then the situation was really very horrible. We don't know what was going to happen, so we decided to go full online. It just so happened that like 2 years ago, we already worked on our online edition. So it was quite easy for us. But then again, all of the reporters were asked to work from home. So only 2 editors and our layout artist, because we still have to do the layout of our paper. thinking that as soon as things get better, we have to reprint the newspapers that we missed, no? So because we do have advertisers and we have to fill our advertising contract. So but things didn't well, we just had to go on until April, May, June, and we're looking at going back to printing in July 1. So we were preparing for that. We're now busy preparing to go back to printing and to assess our paper, see what we really want. There's going to be a lot of changes in our print edition. There are of course a lot of challenges, and as mentioned by Carol, we all have to go digital. It's very difficult to go talk to other sources, and we're held hostage by government media organized press conferences. So that's a very challenging thing to do for community newspapers. But because of, we really have to earn. I mean, we will not survive. We cannot pay our reporters if we do not earn. So at this time also we used the time to think how we can sell our our online edition, and I think we're having positive results, and we look forward to really exploring that form of revenue generation. So yeah, it was. I think this is similar to all other community newspapers, not only in Mindanao or in Davao City, but the rest. Of course, I know that some of our PPI members, I've been talking to some of them since March, asking them how they are, and I learned that some of them stopped printing but couldn't go online because they were not prepared to do it. So yeah, I think that's it. Maybe later on when we try to ask questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ami. Okay, so now we move on. Okay, we'll just quickly move on to Alex, and then we'll just have further discussions that Ami has shared later. So now let's hear Alex.
Hi. So the experience of Metro Post, we are a weekly paper. So the experience of weekly papers is not as heavy as the daily community papers, especially when it comes to printing, because we don't need as much paper. But yes, this is before I came to this webinar. I also talked to Carla Gomez to get the input from the daily paper, and it's really bad. It's really bad for the daily weekly papers because the advertisements are really fewer. They're really getting fewer and fewer this time, and then they cannot continue with hiring a group of staff, so they have to recruit their people. And she said there is a possibility if this continues, the paper will go under if they cannot get new money into the paper. So he was suggesting that we could come up, or there is somebody somewhere will have a bailout plan for newspapers in distress. And it will come through either low interest loans or new investors. So back to weekly paper, in a very local setting, because of the ECQ, the delivery boys could not anymore do their rounds. So my wife and I had to go every week to subscribers, hand out their copies, and far as printing problems, we had to let go of our color pages because we have our color set done in Cebu. Very difficult for the Cebu printing offices to function at the time of CQ. And yes, we found ourselves though, one good thing that came out of it. Our columnists have more time to write. And so they came up with much longer and more incisive columns. And that also added to our printing costs because all of them wanted to be in the newspaper. They wanted everybody to know what they were thinking, especially at this time, that they were still alive and all that. And so, yeah, from sometimes if we print only 10 pages, we found ourselves printing 16 because of the columnists. And so, another good thing was we were thinking of just closing down for a while, temporarily. But how could you? There is a dearth of information about COVID and what's happening in the community. And we felt that the community paper had a big role in sifting through the facts and the rumors when it comes to information about this disease. And so we quietly, we even forgot about it initially, but we turned 20 years old last April. And but because of COVID, we forgot all about it.
Congratulations.
Thank you. That could have been advertising potential. When we remembered it was all over. And so, yes, we look forward to continuing our publication. And especially, we still have over 200,000 worth of collectibles. I hope we are able to collect that and continue. Part of the inputs in this report, especially with the printing problem, legal ads. Yeah, we have problems with legal ads because the courts also stopped for a while. And yeah, they also came from Bohol Sunday News, from attorney in that and our publisher there. I think whose daughter is representing the paper in this webinar. And yeah, I have a question for Carol because there's a big challenge in running an independent news bureau, especially in Mindanao, when our president is from Mindanao. My question was, or is, how do you manage to come out with critical or even just objective reports about the president and get away with it? Yeah, so that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Alex. Carol, please.
How can we?
Yeah, how do you come out with objective or critical reports about the president, especially because you are from Mindanao and there's so many people, he enjoys so much support?
Well, we can. And the president himself knows that. So,
you don't have problem with DDS, that kind?
Sorry?
You don't have problems with BDS? You know, we hear a lot of scary stories about them.
So far, hindi pa naman po. Because we, if you look at the way the news reports naman, we try to be very fair. So if someone has to be criticized, then someone has to be criticized. If someone has to be praised, then someone has to be praised. So I think we have our track record to prove that we're a fair organization.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, very quickly, since Alex asked that question, and before we let Carol go, not that she's going anyway, what can the national media learn from the news in terms of your coverage, your critical reporting of this administration? Given that you said you're not experiencing bashing, I suppose, not like some national media outlets. what can the national media learn from you, or what advice maybe would you give when I mean, knowing full well that President Duterte bristles with very critical reports, especially from the national media. How do you go around this issue? And again, what can the national media learn from you? Carol? Carol? You still there? Hi, Carol. Sige. We'll just go back to Carol later. Okay, let's just proceed to Dexter, please. Thank you, Alex.
Yeah. Good afternoon to everyone. Yeah. Okay na, Ma'am Tess?
Please, go ahead.
Yeah. In Northern Luzon, we have at least close to 20 members of the PPI. And during the pandemic, I think almost 80 to 90% of them have ceased operations, and most of them also shifted to the online platforms as part of their shift to what we call blended journalism at this new normal times. I agree. We agree with Ami and Alex that the problem that has transpired is among the media is first is the supply of paper, the absence of mobility, so they cannot transport their printed copies, and poor interconnectivity among the areas around the northern Luzon area. However, we saw the opportunity at this time that LGUs, government agencies, have really stepped up by coming out with their own social media pages that serve as one of the source of information for the media and to serve as one of the basis of the reports without sacrificing the vetting of the information from those Facebook pages. It also actually, in our place, it also contributed in making the job easier because of the availability of information from those social media pages. However, the interconnectivity problem is really a concern for us because in vetting the information from those social media pages, it would be difficult to get in touch with personalities because of the poor internet or communication signals in the said areas. In our region, basically, Baguio City, some parts of Benguet, and the capital towns are the ones with good connection. But the rest, the connection is really intermittent, which shows that there are still people who are longing for printed copies of their favorite publications, either weekly or daily. Even the daily newspaper in Baguio also shifted to online, and when we were elevated to modified GCQ. Instead of producing their daily printed copies, they are now actually a weekly publication. So we will be open to questions from our friends, and we are willing to answer it to the best of our ability. Thank you, and good afternoon to everyone.
Thank you, Dexter. Thank you. Now we move on to Julius. Hi, Julius. Julius Mariveles. Julius, can you hear me? Hi, Julius. I can see his photo, but I'm not sure he can hear me. Hi, Julius. Parang wala. Nawala na siya. Hi, Julius.
Hi, Julius. Are you there? I think he's fixing something.
Sige. Okay. Are there any questions so far for Carol, Ami, Dexter, and Alex?
Tess, hi. While waiting for Julius, we'll just throw in a couple of questions which came earlier, and this one comes from Sir J.B. Bailon, and I quote, "I've always said that the way to defeat the virus is street by street, barangay by barangay, house by house. This is a community effort or campaign, not a national campaign. How can the community press help such an effort? Because the national media will miss. Hi,
Ariel.
Hi.
Ariel.
Hi. Okay. Hi, you're there?
I'm here.
Okay. Okay, it's now your turn. I'm just reading a question from...
Sorry, may technical problem lang po. Now,
okay,
anyway.
Okay, are you good? You can start.
Thank you. Yung sa DNX po, yung experience namin is this. No? I will sum it up in 3 aspects. Yung strain ay sa operational, financial, and editorial aspects of the paper. Medyo unique yung case namin because we started out as a digital-first news and information platform. So, we started last August 2019. Hindi pa po kami even a year into operations when the pandemic struck. So, nevertheless, what we have noticed is, one, sa financial and operational aspect, one, it's difficult to have additional reporters. Very, very difficult. Number 2, sa financial aspect, of course, sales are down, revenues are yung revenues are really down, yung expenses are adding up kasi you have to take care of your reporters even if sales are not good. And then yung editorial aspect po, what we have noticed is we have a problem with access to information. Very, very important. I think at this point, yung pandemic highlighted the need not only for local news, but hyper-local news. Meaning, yung local reporters, local papers like us, we have to go deeper into our reporting, which means na we have to look into expenses for spending for the calamity, especially during the ECQ, spending for the food packs, pag-avail ng SAP, things like that. But we have found out na may problema sa access to information. It is really difficult to access documents or to even interview government officials. So yun po. Basically yun. And then another thing is we have noticed na may problem when it comes to vetting and the control and flow of information. As Dexter C. pointed out, yung government, yung local government units made their own Facebook accounts. Doon na dumadalo yung information. Sometimes, yung mainstream media is not being accommodated, things like that. So, meaning yung control ng flow of information is up to the government. Nothing wrong with that. But then again, if it impacts on access to information, medyo may problema na tayo. Aside from that, hindi lang government agencies. We have also noticed a public on Facebook that wants to become reporters. Nothing wrong with that again. But yung problema is the information being spread around is unvetted and unverified. Let me give you an example. Yung public is angry sometimes at reporters. For example, during the early part of the quarantine, yung reporting rules ng DOH says that we cannot disclose the place kung saan yung isang PUI, PUM, or confirmed COVID patient nakatira. But the public does not want that. They become angry at us, or let's say, mga reporters dito sa Negros Occidental. They want the name of the barangay to be disclosed. But we are bound by reporting rules of the DOH or the local IATF. So what we have seen is we have a public na medyo antagonistic to reporters, to storytellers. I don't know where the anger comes from. Perhaps that could be a result of isolation during the quarantine. Wala pang empirical studies about that, kung ano yung epekto ng lockdown sa psyche ng tao, but we can only presume na yung mga reporters are becoming the outlets din ng galit ng mga tao. So yun lang po, for a start. I can clarify if you have questions later. Salamat po.
Thank you, Julius. I think we can read some of the comments, Ariel, and the questions. Please proceed. Nakamute ka.
Okay. Can you hear me? Okay. Okay. I was reading a question from Sir J.B. Bailon, and I've always said that the way to defeat the virus is street by street, barangay by barangay, house by house. This is a community effort or campaign, not a national campaign. How can the community press help such an effort, because the national media will be missing focus on the forest? Yeah. Hello? Hi.
Ariel, can I answer that?
Sure, Ami.
Yeah. Okay. In Davao City, we had this. There was an. This was in maybe April, when there's some mass testing, and it was found that in one street, 7 of those tested, 4 of those who were tested out of 7 were positive of COVID. And so what we did was, because that was, Boulevard, mini forest, and all this part of Davao City where there are so many urban poor. This is a urban poor community which is very close to the sea. What we did was do infographics, a lot of infographics, and putting in our maps to inform people about these areas. And the city government was also very quick to identify the barangays that were high risk, low risk, or medium risk, whatever. So it was very easy for us to get the information out through various means, infographic stories, and other forms. That's it.
Okay, can we hear other answers from our other panelists? Yes, Julius.
Basically, yung information campaign for that, there's a dilemma kasi it has to proceed from a coordinated plan ng local government unit. Like example, in our case, the city government of Bacolod. Ano ba yung plano nila? And sometimes, as I've pointed out kanina, yung problem is we have a problem with access to information. For example, ano ba yung plano? Is there going to be a disinfection campaign? Things like that. Parang ngayon, it's not really clear at the local level, I mean. Ano? So what local media can actually do is to complement the plans or the efforts of the LGU. And sometimes may mga problem pa dyan from the reading public. Kasi, for example, if you want to help the local government unit provide information and provide support for the information campaign, yung ibang tao, yung readers and viewers, would think that you are biased for the LGU. You are biased for the sitting administration. So medyo may problem with the perception of people na, okay, you are helping the LGU. Siguro binabayaran ka, things like that. As I pointed out, related po ito sa what we think is a growing aggression of people on social media. Yun po. Thank you, Ariel.
Okay, other answers from our other panelists? Hello?
Ariel, can I follow up?
Sure, Sir JB, go.
That's an interesting point about sa Bacolod ba yung kanina, no?
Right.
Kasi mahalaga nga naman na yung inyong reading public trust you because that's the only you have asset you have, diba? But at the same time, and I think I made the comment later down the line, I made the comment down the line that the only way for the economy to recover is if there is confidence. Diba? People will be wary of going out, people will be wary of going to a restaurant. So the only way for them to not be worried is if they have confidence. The only way for them to have confidence is if they have access to reliable and trustworthy information, which I think only you guys can give.
Right.
Now, it is understandable that a local government is very defensive because you don't want to be known as the hotbed, the latest hotbed of COVID, while others are tamping it down. Sa inyo, biglang dumami dahil merong hindi nakita dati o may dumating na export. But at the same time, I think at the same time, it is important na you reach out to local businesses, hotels, restaurants, whose interest also is to build confidence. And so, baka kayo ang pwedeng maging mediator ba, no, between local businesses who are desperate to get this economy moving, and LGU who are desperate to paint a real picture, a rosy picture, whether or not it is real. We don't, especially us in Manila, how would I know whether it's the truth in Dumaguete or in Bacolod or in Davao? Kayo lang may alam. Kaya nga, yung texture ng stories, kayo ang may alam .
Right.
But then if you all add it up to a national sense of either gain, we're taking baby steps, and that is important to create naman a national sense of hope, no, and of confidence. No? Nasabi mo kanina, Sir Julius, na meron, was it Amy, na meron kayong ginawang
infographic.
Can you imagine if the PPI was able to centralize those infographics, diba, from Dumaguete, from Bacolod, from Davao, and people will have, because let's face it, no, I mean, people don't trust the DOH numbers anymore. Right? They have fresh cases, they have late cases, they have late fresh cases, and fresh late cases, and God knows what other cases, diba? So can you imagine if kayo mababypass ninyo yon with the caveat, no, that this is based on our sources, diba? Then you can put it side by side with official DOH sources, kasi and Ms. Amy pointed out, ang gulo-gulo ng DOH, nagpapalit everyday ang kanilang protocols. Ngayon, they're requiring, I was told by Dick Gordon, they're requiring that even asymptomatics be tested. Dati hindi. No? So nobody trusts them anymore. Ako sa akin, kayo Kayo yun . So,
yes.
And naghahanap ang tao ng trustworthy and reliable sources. To me, you would be the best choice. Thank you.
That is true. Sir JB, good afternoon. As I pointed out kanina, yung problem is access to information. And yung problem ngayon sa COVID reporting is the fact na you have to have an official source. You just can't simply interview someone on the street. There has to be an official source, and that official source is the government. For LGUs, it would be the mayor, the vice mayor, the IATF, the local IATF, and the city health offices. So we have to stick with that reporting protocol. Others, syempre, we can do it. We can source data on the ground. Others, we have to get it from official sources. In this case, yung gobyerno po. So, yun. Now, in terms of trying to help in the information campaign, as I've pointed out, yung basic problem is, yung gobyerno is also competing sa mainstream media or sa reporters in putting out the news. Sometimes they want to put it out first. So hindi dumadaan sa reporters, they will put it out first on social media. Yung public naman, on the other hand, it seems to me na maraming reporters ngayon, yung backyard reporters, people have Facebook accounts, and then yung what I've found to be interesting ngayon is yung spread ng information ay hindi na through Facebook but through Messenger. So medyo may problema in terms of those things, ano? But again, you're right, Sir JB. We can actually help. In our case, because we are multimedia and we are online, we've done a lot of things from advisories to infographics to public service announcements to virtual town halls since the pandemic started. So, very, very unlimited kasi yung magagawa mo online. You can do videos, you can do podcasts and what have you. But then again, the problem is where can we actually get yung official information? But then again, hindi pa naman masyadong bleak yung picture, sir. Ano? Dito sa Bacolod, yung economy is gradually opening up. Restaurants are back, dine-ins are back, of course, with the appropriate minimum of measures to prevent the spread of COVID.
Yeah.
Yun po.
Okay.
Sir Ariel.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Sir JB and Julius. Let me just go back to what Tita Carol said a while ago. It's a big challenge for you, yung sinabi ni Sir JB kanina, because there seems to be that dominant narrative. And lest we forget, it's really the narrative from the government, right? So yung information to assist or to be of help in the information dissemination, to build better communities, talagang big challenge for community journalists. Pero I get the point of Sir JB na pwedeng gawin in the little way we can, and also a big challenge, I think, for people as an organization to put this data all together if naisipan siyang gawin during the quarantine days. Right, Sir JB? Are you still there?
I'm here.
Yeah. I get your point. In fact, I've read some of your posts on Facebook, so which I think had something to do with what you're saying right now. But let me, again, with Tess, with your permission, another question from another.
Sir Ariel, can I react?
Sure, Dexter, please.
Yeah, I agree with Julius, and Sir JB. The problem that the media sector, radio, print, and television is encountering at this time is the government agencies and local governments. Because of the availability of their pages, have also become reporters themselves. They immediately post the information needed. That is why the media sector has to look for other angles of the story on how to present such information campaign, or how to educate our people about keeping or staying safe. That is why that is one of the difficult. I don't know if it is an advantage or disadvantage at this point. And also, people with Facebook accounts have become also opinion writers, columnists in their own right. That tends to confuse more the people instead of clarifying the issues. People become confused because of the too many opinions coming from too many people in social media.
Yeah. So is there any reaction for Dexter's statement?
Ariel?
I have a reaction. Sorry. Ariel? Julius, are you going to say
Yes,
something?
a bit lang po. Very
Sige,
quick
okay
one.
lang.
Tama si Dexter, no? What we see now, it seems, is information overload. Everyone is giving out information. Now, yung role ng journalist to be an explainer and sense maker, it has become more difficult kasi increasingly yun eh. We don't only put out information, we also go after fake news. And then we have to explain and we have to make sense of what is happening now. But then again, yung problem, I will go back to the access to information. So yun po. Thank you.
Yeah.
I have a reaction, Ariel.
Yes, sure, Tess.
Yeah. Obviously, government and specific agencies are becoming aggressive in putting out information. It's like they're trying to outdo the media because they need to control the narrative. But
Correct.
I think we also need to see this differently in terms of the kind of opportunity that it presents to us. Because this government institution, no matter how good they may be in writing, they can never do the work of media. And this is where we can come in. What kinds of stories can we put out? With PCOO, for example, having released this kind of information and then refusing to share that information with media because gusto niya mauna siya and control the narrative. But what kinds of stories can we put out instead that would put more meaning and maybe put out more reliable and accurate information and maybe more meaningful stories for the public? So maybe this is easier said than done, but I'm thinking of what kind of opportunity is it presenting to us, because they can never do the work of a journalist because obviously they're very aggressive. What I pointed out earlier in terms of slow journalism, maybe there are stories that we can do instead that government will never be in a position to do, notwithstanding the amount of resources it has on its hands. Julius, you're going to react? Yeah.
Yes, Tess. You're right. I'll give you an example. What we did, very small scale, we came out with a money watch project. Kasi yung importante ngayon is how to track yung expenses ng LGU. So what we did was to track kung paano yung distribution ng Social Amelioration Program or SAP. And we found out na as of now, malaki yung discrepancies, at least dito sa Bacolod. So that's one. Number two, yung very simple how-to articles. Ito yung tinatawag na utility articles, but how-tos. We came out with a story, very simple, how to wear a face mask. As simple as that. And then how to disinfect. We came out with a public service announcement. Kasi yung feeling namin at this time, during a crisis, what people need is to be guided. I think local community papers or journalists can fulfill this role po. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Ariel?
I agree. Ma'am.
Okay. Go ahead, Dexter.
Yeah, I agree with Julius. It's also a wake-up call for media to look into other aspects or other, that's what I was saying a while ago, other angles of the story. We can add human face to those figures being presented and so on and so forth, to the extent that the new normal in the media, in the local media, especially in our place, would be much more on featureized stories or long form stories for that matter, ma'am, Sir Ariel.
Thank you. Yeah. Ariel, marami na tayong comments and questions. Would you mind reading them?
Yeah. There's another question. I don't have an answer to this, but I'm going to read this just the same. This comes from Sir Bill Bisaya from Isabela. Probably, well, Sir JB answered him already, but probably can get the reply from Gets Heineke as well. Community newspapers are in the red. How can our partners help in any aspect during this pandemic?
You're putting him on the spot, Ariel.
Yeah, well, he got an answer from Sir JB. Probably
okay, yeah.
Gets Heineke would also like to answer this if he likes to. If he has an answer, Is he still online?
Yeah, I'm online. I see you, I hear you, but honestly, I don't have much to say because that's the question that I have exactly as well. What can we do as Untitled Foundation? How can we help in this situation? That's a big question, yes.
Yeah. Big question, big challenge as well, and we don't have answers right now. But again, what we're doing with our partners, right, is to help journalists who've been writing stories during the pandemic, during the time when these were difficult times to do coverage or field reporting, for their stories to get remunerated. So that's partly the economic side of it. But let me just go to the third question from Leah Margate, Baguio City. This was addressed to Tess, but the two questions thereafter were, how do we reinvent the sales side aspect of local zone? What opportunities do you think we have? Probably for Ami. Hi, Ami. Hello?
Ami, you need to unmute.
Okay. I'll try to answer this as best as I can because we're also really looking at new ways to get revenue. Although I'm with editorial, I'm not really with the sales and marketing, but I'm dipping my hands on that because we're going to look into another kind of marketing strategy at this time. No, we're looking at what we call co-branding because now there are two kinds. No, if it's sales team generated sales or sales and editorial team generated revenue, and while not at the same time not giving up our editorial integrity. So what we're now doing is co-branding. An example of that, what we're doing now is like this. We're talking to the local school board that we can possibly complement our website to their history, because Davao History, for instance, they can use our website as platform, and then from there we will be asking sponsors to pay for them. So something like that. It's co-branding with, for instance, telcos or with school supply stores or anything. So it's no longer direct sales to clients, but it's more community based. And I think we're doing that as an experiment. And for the past 2 weeks, I've been talking to communities like that, like construction community, and they're very optimistic. They're also very excited. And in fact, they're looking at, asking us now how they can help. So that's what we're doing in terms of sales. So I'm really saying that the old kind of selling that we do for our newspaper, I think will be changed. Somehow it has to adapt to the current realities. And I will document this, and maybe I can report if there are positive news later, if you have another webinar.
Thanks,
But
Abby.
we're looking into that direction.
Yeah. Any other answers from our journalists outside Metro Manila? Let's say Alex. Alex, can you share something about this in terms of sales? Wala na. Okay, Tess. Let me just segue. Oh.
He's saying something, naka-mute lang si Alex.
Okay.
You're on mute, Alex.
Grabe ang challenge ng technology, ano?
You need to unmute, Alex.
Yeah, unmute,
Ayan,
mute.
okay.
Well,
Okay, go.
the challenge here is because I am maintaining 2 screens. So I have to transfer the mouse from one screen to the other screen. Okay, to unmute. About sales, yeah, there's really not much I can contribute about sales. Maybe we just have to look for online prospects. We cannot quite put a price on our newspaper online, but so many people have told us if you put a link there, that will allow us to give money to your efforts, we are going to do that. So that's why we have to pass through PayPal and all these other.
Yeah. Can I add something like that?
Sure.
Alex was saying that's for subscription. Like we're also trying to do that. At the end of our stories, we ask people if they would like to subscribe and direct it to their inbox, so they don't have to go to our website, but their email. When they open their email account, it's there. So subscription for a very minimum fee, and especially because our strength is real lifestyle. So a lot of people, they want to read our lifestyle. So instead of just going, because they keep asking me, please send us the link, please send us the link. So now we're thinking that maybe for each lifestyle section or lifestyle artist, writer, you put their subscription so that they will just put in their email account, Gmail, and then it goes directly. And of course, we're looking at Paymaya for that. No? So we're doing that. I think that's all.
Ariel.
Yeah. Who's talking right now?
That's Dexter.
Ay, ako po yun, Julius.
Julius.
Sorry. Julius, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. I don't know if this would also answer the question of Sir JB. Now, what we did since nag-modified GCQ on June 1, we came out with a COVID recovery sales package. Very simple po. It's actually 80% reduced rates. Kasi we have realized na yung problem sa community, if local businesses are running in the red and they are not earning, the first to go would be advertisements.
Mm-hmm.
So what we did was to offer them a helping hand. We will not sell content at first. As of now, we are not selling content. We will not go on a subscription basis. We want it to be free muna. As of now, kasi there's a crisis. So what we did was to drive down rates up to 80% and offer lower packages. Take note to small businesses. And what we have noticed is dati kasi, yung taga-probinsya, we rely on big national brands, yung malls for sales. Now we have to go back to local businesses because yung local businesses, kung yung rates are low, they will go for it. Right. And so far, parang we are happy with the results. It's been running for only about 2 weeks. And so far, maganda yung response. Thank you po.
Can I quickly react to that, Ariel?
Go Tess. Sure.
That's very interesting, no? Because I was going to say, I think we need also to be looking at our business model, how we're running our publications, our outlets, and then check our assumptions. For example, in the Philippines, I wouldn't say in Asia, paywall is not popular. Gusto ng tao libre. Yeah. But it's working. It's working for some media outlets. Look at New Narrative in Singapore, covering Southeast Asia. It thrives on membership support. That really adds. And it's doing well content-wise. I happen to have subscribed, no? So my way of paying it forward, maliit lang. But so I think we need to be looking at our business model, and this is, I think, where PPI can play a facilitating role. Look at our business model in this day and age when just everything is turning digital. What can we do? Even as we wouldn't want to let go of hard copies, for example. And then the other thing I wanted to say in response to Julius, what you're doing is not just, it's not just something that's generating revenue for you, but what it signals. What it signals to small businesses, we're here to support you. And we're in this together. Even if it's 80% reduction ng usual rates, but we're here to support you. And in this regard, you're supporting us as well to help our community. So together, we're in this together. So I think that's an example of, a different kind of business model that might work for the kind of situation we have today, because I don't see local media dying. As I mentioned earlier, maybe local newspapers may be dying, but local news is not going to die because communities need it. And that's something that cannot be provided by national media, for example. When you just have one page for across the nation type of stories, hindi yan pwedeng punan ng national. So the local media is here to stay.
That's
But we need
strength
to
of
be
the
humble
community
enough,
media.
I think, to look at how we're doing, to look at our business model and check our assumptions. Maybe some people out there are willing to pay. No?
Miss Tess?
So, I mean, those kinds of things, I think, need to be explored at the very least. Yeah. Go ahead, Julius, please.
Yeah. If I might add, actually, during the ECQ, yung nag-enhance quarantine dito, we actually came out with free advertisements for small time sellers, retailers. Kasi yung problem kasi during the lockdown was isolated lahat and parang nawawala yung sense of community. So what we thought was, in our own little way, it's parang telling people na we are here to help each other.
Yeah.
Parang ganun po.
Yeah. That's a key word, sense of community. And it's something that the local media can have a lot of role in fostering. Yeah.
Sir Ariel, may I throw something crazy?
Yes, Sir JB, go. Crazy is good.
Here we're talking about how do we recreate confidence, di ba? In communities so that businesses will open, and if businesses will open, etc., etc. That's critical. And what is the biggest worry kasi natin is we don't know who is and who is not COVID-free, right? Di ba? I was thinking ahead is weird. Kasi kami sa NAC, we have a rapid test every 2 weeks. And whoever gets positive, we test a second time. Kung positive pa rin second time, then we have him swabbed in the Red Cross. Kung positive pa rin, pinapakremate ko na sa Loyola. Ngayon, no, that's a joke, can you imagine if there were a community outfit, no? Wherein I'll be tested on Monday. Negative ako. I-report ko na negative ako, And now this outfit has a list of people who are negative. In fact, can you imagine if your outfit somehow has this badge I can put on my phone, right? On the list of negatives. First of all, puputahan kayo ngayon ng mga outfits na gusto malaman kung sino ba ang negative at positive. Hanapin na sa cellphone. Meron ka bang badge from media outfit X, which etc. etc. I mean, that's just a wild idea of an example of how you could be of value to businesses in your area.
The community.
Is this person walking into my place asymptomatic, symptomatic, or not? Diba? Now, some people kasi don't want people to know kung may COVID siya. But of course, people who have COVID would love everybody else to know. And I would love to give my name to an outfit so that it can publish it every two weeks. Every 2 weeks come into test. My name is up there again. So if they know I walk into a Adidas store, ay, si Mr. Bayanan, negative yan. I mean, something like that. But kayo pwede maging repository nun. One more thing pala, ang isang problema natin dito, especially kayo, you have a problem with the PCOO. You also have problems with local government officials who have 2022 in the back of their heads. In the back of their minds, di ba? They have 2022. They know that an election is coming up and they don't want, of course, the narrative of their competence or lack of it to affect their prospects into the Anyway, just a stupid idea.
Any reaction?
Sir, I might go for that stupid idea, Tingnan natin kung anong pwedeng magagawa.
At least you're not stupid, Sir Julius.
Okay, very interesting comments and questions in the chat room if you've brought your attention to it. There's one from Carol from Hans Seidel Foundation. With a plethora of news and sound bites being expressed and passed around in relation to the pandemic, what have the community papers and journalists been able to do in order to help ensure that first-hand information is gathered and reported to avoid the proliferation of misinformation? I'm sure you read this if you went to the chat room. Julius, you're smiling. You have an answer to this, I'm sure. Because Alex had an answer to this.
it comes at a price, ano? Of course, you have to risk. Ako, I'm a stroke survivor. I'm immunocompromised. But I have to go out in the field. So it comes with that cost, ano? But then again, you have to make sure that you go out and get information firsthand. But if we look at the information na kailangan ngayon, it's mainly concentrated on COVID testing. Sino yung positive? Sino yung negative? Sino yung PUM? Sino yung probables? Sino yung suspects? Saan nakalagay na quarantine facility? Sino yung naka-quarantine? All this information should come from an official source, and that is government. Now, I think yung challenge actually, as I have pointed out kanina, it should be hyper-local and more of, kanina si Miss Tess was talking about slow journalism. I think this is the time that we need slow journalism. But sometimes, people want information fast. So you are competing with a public na talagang gusto nila, yung news nila ay mabilis. So yung slow journalism does not work for them. Sasabihan ka na, ang bagal nyo. Yung gusto lang namin, sino ba yung positive? Sino ba yung negative? Parang ganun po.
Can I answer?
Yes.
Can I say something?
Go ahead, Ami.
Okay. That's right. No, Mindanao Times, we don't break news. We don't. Because we know that when you break the news, the news is not complete. So at the end of the day, really, and we have done that in so many things, so disasters, bombings and everything, we don't break the news. So at the end of the day, but still, at the end of the day, they look at us for real news, you know, that happens. Because breaking news, everyone is doing that, and it's almost always there's misinformation. So we'd rather have to be a little late, but to have the correct information.
Yes.
No, I was just going to say,
Yeah, go.
going back to what I mentioned earlier, we need to check our assumptions about our audiences, I think. No, baka this is how we see them, but maybe we don't know them enough because among others, we've not had enough engagement with them, or maybe they're so used to certain types of dishes, not having tried others, ito lang yung hahanapin nila. But try giving them a different menu maybe. I mean, time for some stupid ideas, some novel approaches maybe that we haven't tried before. Because not only that, these are abnormal times, but maybe these present some opportunities we've never even thought about before. But it's time we did.
Ma'am Tess.
Yeah, Dexter. Time check lang. It's 5 o'clock, so we need to be winding down. But this is very interesting, and definitely this kind of discussion should not end here. Dexter.
Yeah, we agree. Haste makes waste, and it has happened many times that most of the breaking news turned out to be somewhat distorted. That's why I agree. We agree with Ami that the need to still vet the information and complete the details of the story with various sources before posting or publishing it, so that the people will not be alarmed, especially now that if you say that there is again another COVID case in a certain place, it creates panic if you see the pages of the social media. That's why it's better to be gradual and calibrated in coming out with the information, not only on COVID, but also on other major events happening in our areas.
Okay, before I forget, I should not miss this. Here is a proposal from Florine Simon of PCIJ. Magandang hapon. Magandang hapon po.
Hi, Florine.
Ma'am Florine, good afternoon.
Let me just read her statement. kung mayroon pong interested in collab work, we would be happy to work on stories tracking COVID spending at the local level. Use of Calamity QRF plus SAP. Salamat po. Please email PCIJ at pci.org. There seems to be a similar question to the question I just threw in. Ruby Cristobal asked, how do you counter the proliferation of, I'm sure this was answered already, but some part to it can be answered as well. But COVID-19 in the social media through your respective newspapers. Aside from the official sources who can sometimes be giving conflicting pronouncements, you also check other sources such as scientists.
Yun lang.
Correct.
Sir Ariel.
Go, Julius.
Isa lang po, ayun kay Miss Tess, I mean, these are things that made me think kanina, ano? Yung tanong niya, are we really driving conversations? I think very important po ito. And then we have to go back to slow journalism, baka nga, ano? I think yung pandemic has only emphasized na we have to go back to the basic values of journalism. Na talagang it has reaffirmed the need for storytellers. Kasi kung minsan may feeling ako na people don't want us anymore. Ako, I have a Facebook account. I can be a reporter too. Parang ganun. So I think this only affirms the need for reporters. And sadly, however, kung minsan you feel that yung public is not appreciative anymore of the reporters. But then again, we have to forge on. Thank you for the reminders, Ms. Tess.
Yeah.
My pleasure, Julius.
Okay.
Iba pang
yes,
comments? Yeah.
Okay. This is that question
May I?
comment from. Sure. Tita Carol, go.
Yeah. This is about, well, in relation to what Julius said earlier about access to information. Actually, there's a lot of government data out there in their websites, in the websites of DBM, DTI, DOLE, etc. But reporters are not checking these websites. The Bayanihan Grant, for instance, that's 1 month's worth of ERA, diba? There's a list of that in the DBM per province, per city, per town. And then regarding the problems on statistics, we get daily updates on how many cases of positives recovered, etc. But quite a number only look at it on a daily basis, but are not writing about the trend. For example, what was the figure when we were under ECQ, and when we shifted to GCQ, and when we shifted again to for
MGCQ.
Yeah, GC2. These are data available every day, but it will really require a lot of time from all of us to analyze the data, so we can present a trend report. Okay.
Ariel?
Ariel. Okay.
Ariel, can I hear? Yeah.
Sure. Who's this?
Roman.
Roman, hi, go.
In relation dun sa sources of information, I was doing a story about the rising number of companies that closed down because of COVID. I was trying, kasi ang tanging nakuha kong source is yung sa press release nila ng sa DOLE. And also yung nakuha ko from the region. Unfortunately, I would want to ask them sana for the breakdown ng mga industries sa region and sa provinces kasi malaki yung buong Davao region. Eh yun ang mahirap kasi nga they're controlling the narrative. Kung anong binigay namin sa inyo, yan na. Hindi naman nila ibinibig, you're not allowed to ask questions kasi I tried to contact them through their website or even their social media accounts. No one is manning those channels. Lalo na sa kaso ko, malayo ang Tagum City from Davao City na nandun ang regional office. Eh dito ako nakabase. At may comorbidity rin ako, hindi ako masyado makalabas basta-basta.
Right.
So it's one of those things na talaga nagpapahirap. Kaya I agree na these virtual pressers at kung ano lang yung pinalabas nila sa social media, yan na yung balita. So it's really hard for us journalists to get the other info behind those stories. Dahil minsan naunahan pa tayo ng mga tao because nakapost na kagad sa social media. Wala ka nang may i-report because people already read what they posted. All you have to do is just to repackage what they presented to you in social media. And then people would just say, yan din na nabasa ko eh. So it's really hard for us.
Sir Ariel.
Yes, Julius.
Yes, hi lang po kay Miss Carol and thank you for the reminders. But dagdag ko lang na yung problem with the access is at the local level kasi for example, yung emergency shopping ng food packs, wala pang data hanggang ngayon. Second, yung SAP distribution hanggang ngayon it's really clear. So parang ganun lang po. Thank you.
Actually, it would be good na sana if kasi supposedly, di ba, there was a DILG order for all the barangays to post.
Yeah.
The SAP on their...
Opo.
Kailangan sana yung... Kaya lang, we cannot go out naman to all these barangays to check, di ba?
Yeah.
Opo, yun.
Kahit sa LGU level, hindi mataas ang compliance pagdating sa ganyang mga bagay eh. So we're relying lang sa PCOO at sa mga virtual pressers na papanood natin online. Hanggang gano'n na lang.
Pero hindi dapat nga, di ba?
Yeah,
actually that's why you have to look for other sources also from the industry itself. Some of them actually will not also talk. I mean, will not want their names to be mentioned, but at least we get an idea of what is really happening in this particular industry.
Okay, Tess, are you still there? Okay, here's one. Okay, this is not a question but a comment from Nick de los Reyes, who is actually based in Occidental Mindoro. He's a correspondent for Manila Times. The situation here in Mindoro seems that people doubted the rise on cases of COVID, wherein the credibility of the media is really affected on reporting because people's perception goes on this. When the province has new positive cases, means the LGU or the provincial government is just making money out of it. Wow. Okay. And also a comment from Ruby Cristobal. I think this is something to do with her earlier question. Scientists have been giving info on trends. Example, COVID trackers of UP. Okay. Are there any more interesting questions from in the
Ariel,
chat?
sorry.
Yes,
Ariel?
go.
Yeah,
yes.
I was actually referring to the trends at the local level. So, kunyari, Davao City, ano ba yung trend nung, based on the data that are being, that the DOH, for instance, and the LGU put out on their websites. Marami ka makukuha doon that you can actually later write a trend report on that.
Right.
Yes. Yeah, I'm still here.
Yeah, go.
No, I was going to say also, yeah, I understand yung difficulty na nauunahan ang local media ng the likes of PCOO with by coming out with this information and not sharing this with the media. Pero yun nga, ang challenge is ano yung ibang storyang pwedeng gawin building on those data, for example. Because we cannot cease operating and we cannot stop putting out important stories. So that's part of the challenge, I think, being presented to us by this kind of situation and how the government is responding to this. Talagang parang clash of narratives no? And clearly government wants to make sure its narrative is the dominant one. And given the state of the government in general, we cannot let that happen. So we need to take on this challenge. Easier said than done, I know. But there's no skirting this challenge because otherwise, we lose by default. I think that would be, there's a kind of sad reality that in the end will be confronting us. As much as we want to continue this discussion, sayang, very interesting.
That's one
yeah.
last. I think this is a hanging question, a reposed question, but a hanging question. This is addressed to Carolyn Arguillas. Kudos to your team. How did you support your logistics for Mindanao News, considering the problem of having to sustain the operations, even with the subscribers and own fund, it would be insufficient.
For Carol, that's for
Yeah,
Carol.
it's insufficient. That's why we're asking help from friends also. And we're trying to think of other means to be able to fend for ourselves, like as I think mentioned already by Ami, the possibilities of subscriptions and other forms of generating revenue. So parang mahirap siya, but
Kaya.
Yeah.
Kaya.
Lived here 19 years, so yeah.
Mahirap sa mahirap.
Tess?
Yeah. Okay. Siguro we need to
to wrap up. I cannot anymore read the other question because they're all some questions are the same. Would you like the other panelists or
maybe some final remarks
before we go to the synthesis?
Yeah, before we go to Tita, any final words from or any of the participants, not just the speakers, maybe.
Very quick.
Anyone?
Quick lang. Can I say something quick?
Go ahead,
Sure.
Ami.
Yeah. So I think I still hope that print is not dead. That community newspapers are still very relevant and very necessary for our freedoms. And for democracy to survive, that it is all up to us to keep our hopes and dreams burning. And I think that's it. We really look forward to having this more meetings like this, so that we can see how well we are doing at our own small community and maybe learn from each other. So I think that's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Alex?
Yeah. Listening to all the inputs here and how we are surviving this, I think COVID-19 is bringing out the best in all of us. So congratulations for getting this far.
For being alive.
And kicking.
Yeah. Dahil sabi nga ni Sir JB, laging handa.
With double G. Okay. Julius? Yeah, Julius.
Salamat lang po sa PPI, Ariel, Miss Tess, very enlightening, and yung dream ko is still world peace. Maraming salamat.
Miss Universe?
Pang Miss Universe, Okay, sige. Anyone else? Please, we want to hear from the others. Kung meron kayong gustong sabihin. Very quickly.
From Tess.
Yeah, Dexter. Go ahead.
Yeah, we in Northern Luzon are grateful to PPI, Hans Seidel, and NAC for coming out with this activity. We also say thank you to Ma'am Tess, Sir Ariel, and the team, Sir Kir, for keeping us posted. As Sir Alex have said, this pandemic has brought out the best in some of us, but the worst in most of us, as we have seen in the social media and community media or mainstream media, as the term, will still thrive based on our assessment. We just have to reinvent or innovate our way of operation, and we have the will to survive. Thank you and good afternoon to everyone.
Thank you, Dexter. COVID-19 may kill our bodies but not our spirits. Yeah. Now we turn to Ariel. Would you like to introduce Tita? Or anyone else kung wala na?
Naku.
No more now. Okay, at this point, we're wrapping up. We're winding down already. Let me just introduce you, Tita Valderrama. She now works for Verifiles. She's going to do the synthesis of our discussions.
Okay. Hello?
Hello, yes.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes,
Loud,
ma'am.
Off ko
loud
na
and clear.
camera ko kasi
Oh, sure. Go.
nag-distract ako.
Yo.
Anyway, buti na lang kala ko nakalimutan niyo na ako eh.
Hindi, part of program
Okay.
eh.
There is no doubt that COVID is the biggest story, not only here in the Philippines, but in the world today.
Yeah.
And this is something that never occurred even in our wildest dreams or even in our craziest imagination. And the crisis is still upon us, and it's hard to understand the impact of COVID-19, not only in our lives, but also in journalism, di ba? Parang with all the problems that were mentioned during the more than 2 hours of very lively discussion, how much longer can we survive when at this point, 3 months under lockdown, we see a lot of problems basically financially. How do we operate? How do we continue doing our job at this time when the demand from the public for trustworthy and credible information is unprecedentedly high? So, which also presents an incredible opportunity for independent media, especially from the community press, to come up with information coming from the grassroots, coming from the communities. And it is a chance to showcase the value of good journalism and hopefully build lasting relationships with the audience. Parang strengthening our engagement with the audience. And at this point, we are still grappling with the problem on how to turn challenges into opportunities. And maybe one good thing that that the COVID-19 brought upon us is we are becoming more, especially the community press, are becoming more creative, like what Julie
Resourceful.
said. Yeah, like kasi nga, di ba, advertising revenues are going down, subscription is going down. Many have stopped printing and resorting to online. Like yung ginagawa ni Julius, parang nai-imbibe yung healing as one. So parang yung sense, parang nagkakaroon ng sense of community, parang helping the small businesses to promote them and giving them very low, very heavily discounted advertising packages. At the same time, natutulungan yung community press to survive somehow, di ba? Siguro, at saka yung yung sabi ni Mr. Estabillo kanina, parang we have learned how to embrace fully the digital technology, di ba? Kasi like ngayon, nagkakaroon tayong problema, but at least we have this kind of engagement. Parang naging closer yung relationship ng community media in sharing information, and at the same time parang iisa yata yung demand for more accurate information kasi siguro yung napansin ko rin yung hinighlight ni Julius yung problem with access to information. And I think this, saka siguro hindi na as na-mention din pala kanina yung underreporting of cases. And this is happening not only here, not only in your communities, not only in the DOH, but also around the world. So it's parang so the challenge for us is parang is bigger, is heavier, to make to make sure that the information that we disseminate to the public is credible. Parang, and maybe we should also be instrumental in calling out public officials, and also lalo na yung mga yung public officials who themselves are could not follow the rules, the guidelines that they are supposed to enforce or implement. Tapos yung another challenge is kasi siguro 3 months na kasi, di ba? And how many billions and trillion na nga yata yung pondo for COVID-19. And the other day, there was a report in the Inquirer that donations alone had reached 6.5 billion already. So the challenge for us is how to track yung money trail siguro, yung to track spending of government, and also yung examining the supply contracts, diba? But then we may be facing so many challenges in siguro ngayon hindi na masyado sa mobility, di ba? Kasi we can already move around, although with still under quarantine.
May limitations pa rin.
May limitations pa rin, but not as strict as
rigid.
March,
Dati,
yes. And siguro ang bigger problem also is yung accessing accurate information. And because government also work on skeleton forces, so baka hindi rin sila nakaka-cope with the demands of the job. But still, these are not excuses for us to lay down our guards, diba? To parang we should be more watchful of what they're doing. Indeed, it is alarming that many of the community newspapers have stopped printing. And I hope, and we're hoping that they will be able to resume printing soon. And maybe another challenge is siguro yung explore more online presence. Pwede rin, walang nakabanggit kanina, yung pwede rin kasi yung podcasting. But this is all that this poses a problem.
Binanggit ni Julius yun, nagpo-podcast siya.
Where interconnectivity is a problem. But this is one example also where we can make our presence more felt. So lahat naman ng problema about yung limited operations, tapos syempre yung financial, dahil nga because advertising revenues are down, subscriptions are down, or totally hindi naman siguro totally nawala, no? But yung sabi nga kang ni Ami din, you have to be more creative in offering the brand that you are selling. This idea of working with schools to make the newspaper as part of the educational curriculum is a good idea.
Media
You
information
can-
literacy.
Yes, merong you can search in the internet yung newspaper in education. This is done overseas and they have already they have a program on this, mga exercises, and this is really this is one way of making the students to become aware of their environment and to become
Media
aware
literate.
Literate.
Media literate.
News literate.
News literate.
Yes. Yeah. And then maganda rin yung for cashless subscriptions through PayPal, GCash, Paymaya. Really, because we don't know when it's going to end this. So we could not just wait for things to, sabi nga, we could not go back to the normal that we were used before. So we have to live with the new normal. We have to, sabi nga ni Tess, we have to review our business models. We have to change the way we do things. We change the way we do journalism, but without shrinking on yung our responsibility to the public. And maybe we need to improve and strengthen our engagement with
journalism for the better.
with the public. Yung sabi nga ni Mr. Bailon kanina, yung community engagement is very important. And sino ba yung nasa community? But the community press. So the role of the community press is really very important because the information comes, that's where the information comes before it goes to the national, di ba?
From the ground.
Yeah, from the ground talaga. Oo. So that also we have to provide the accurate information so that the national leadership will come up with policies that are based on correct information so that we can get the response that are necessary. Diba? So the question that we should ask ourselves now is how much longer can we survive this, and how do we still make ourselves matter?
Relevant.
Yes. Yun.
Okay, is that it, Tita?
Yeah, that's it.
Okay. Maraming salamat, Tita. Yes, final words from you before we officially close the program for my announcements.
No, I've said a mouthful already. So we just hope we can continue the conversation because, among others, this helps us with cope with our mental health situation, I think. That we stay in touch with one another. I wish you all the best. Stay safe. Yeah.
Maraming salamat to our panelists and speakers. Maraming salamat sa mga
Thank you, Ariel.
Thank you, Ariel.
Okay, please don't leave. I'm making some announcements.
Okay.
Okay. Maraming salamat to our partners, Tickle Asia Corporation, Hans Hagel Foundation.
Thank you, Ariel and partners.
Yeah, I'm getting the feel that we can continue this kind of significant discourse for as long as we want, because there's a bigger challenge for all of us to keep the print alive.
Yeah.
And for struggling community newspapers, parang pag-iisipan pa ba yan na paano ba mabubuhay and all. And I think PPI cannot do it alone. It takes a community, even a global, global efforts talaga to keep ourselves together and also to help one another. And I'm going back to what I remember Sir Rolly telling us in our planning workshop, bago mag-lockdown, na the only people who can help ourselves ay tayo pa rin. And that kind, and he specifically cited altruism. It has to start in each and every one of us. And for somebody like PPI, na hindi naman niya hindi siya redeemer. He's not the answer to all the woes, but I think we can take significant steps. Having said that, the COVID-19 Chronicles, part of the project with Untitled Chapter and Nickel Asia Corporation, will have to look into stories that have been approved so that they get to be remunerated for as long as they conform to the standards of civic journalism, which is the flagship program of the PPI. There's going to be a series of seminars on ano to, Tess?
You said crisis?
Crisis reporting, and we want it sana July, between July and August. And after that project cycle, meron pang iba because we're getting the hang of this kind of technology to really gather ourselves virtually. To our panelists and speakers, please, our admin will get in touch with you for your honorarium, and for the participants from member newspapers, you are also getting your allowance. Hindi na siya travel allowance kasi hindi naman kayo nag-travel. Pero allowance lang yun. Oo. Wala pa rin nagbago, makakatanggap pa rin. Because we put that in the budget na post doon. Kasi co-shouldered by Nickel Asia and Untitled Foundation. So, hopefully, we all enjoyed ourselves, and happy Independence Day. 2 questions. Are you happy? Are you independent? That's for you to answer.
Sir Ariel.
Yes?
Yes, sir. Don't forget to go to the Rolex Service Center for your watch.
No, you know what is just the G-Shock. My favorite G-Shock. Pero anyway, I'm going to check on the time kasi mukhang atrasado pa rin. So the next time around, correct na yung time niya. Maraming salamat, Sir JD.
Bye.
Gets Heineke, Tess Bacalla, Carolyn Arguillas, Ami Cabusaw, Dexter C, Julius Mariveles, Alex Rey Pal, and all our Tita Valderrama, part of the training team as synthesizer talaga. And Rissa, documenter, Kier, of course, our tech guy who made this technology possible as we embrace it. And then also our other members of the team, Sheila, and all. Maraming salamat po sa inyo. Ate Bess.
And also,
importante of course, si Silvestre Pasqua, di ba? Si Lira, kahit yung wala dito, hopefully, you guys can join us in the next webinars. Tatapusin lang ng mini-test yung draft program, and then hopefully get you back all together online so that we can see each other. Maraming salamat po for making our afternoon fruitful and probably something to think about. Junk anti-terror bill.
Mañanita forever.
Yeah. For as long as you live alone. Okay. Maraming salamat po. Please stay safe. Please stay safe. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Ariel, bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye po.
Salamat. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Sir Ariel. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
More power to PPI and partners.
And more power to you. Please keep safe.
Keep safe too, sir.
Bye po.
Okay.
Bye-bye, sir.
Bye-bye.
Here.
Thanks, Kier.
Apo.
Wala. Okay, sige.
Apo.
Okay.
Out ka na po, sir.
Okay,
Hi,
sure.
Dexter. How are you? Fine.
Uy, Amor, kumusta ka?
Fine, Dexter. Kinistorya tayo ito di mas nabaybaya. Ganyan.
Wen, nagbuya na gayam.
Wen, natatay nakpay.
Ay, so,
Desktop ti inusar ko tatay.
oo na yan.
Masabol, agsara ti opisina. Iso cellphone
Dakta kami opisina. Magpapay ti ayo ti Jaryo.
Iso nga rod. Oo. Masapol, agtul-tuloy ti Jaryo.
Masapol.
Yeah.
Masapol.
Wen, sige. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye, Sir Kier. Thank you.
Wen, sige.
Bye-bye po. Bye-bye, sir.
Bye-bye. Out na po.
Bye.
Apo.